Hello, and welcome to a podcast about creating experimental art in trauma-informed and sustainable ways that support artists, our communities, and the organization as a whole. I'm your host, Molly, and you're listening to Any Other Anythings. In this season, we are focused on the latest project being produced by Graybox Collective. It is titled Positive Ruminations. So this is an event that will feature 4 new works, and each episode of this season of Any Other Anythings will feature conversations from the creative teams developing the new work. And we are really focusing on capturing the process and sharing out the things we find interesting along the way. Hope that you enjoy the season of Any Other Anythings. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Any Other Anythings. I'm your host, Molly. And in this episode, we are finally hearing from some of the creatives for Finger Painting for Grown-Ups. And as I mentioned, I think it was in the previous episode around finger painting, the poor piece has gone through some transitions. And so this was half the team was present for this. So it's just Ree and myself talking about the rehearsal process. And this was Ree stepping into the piece for the first time. And also just like, I love the serendipitousness of as Ree and I were talking this through and talking about the rehearsal process for finger painting for grown-ups, like you can hear the sound of kids playing in the background. So as I mentioned, we are right next to a playground when we are rehearsing. So I don't know, it just felt like very natural, like when life imitates art or whatever. So anyways, enjoy this first conversation with creatives of Finger Painting for Grown-Ups. So we just did an epic rehearsal for finger painting. Ree, what would you like to, could you maybe summarize what we did first?
We talked about busy culture and what that entailed, especially things that are attributed to grown-upness and capitalism. And then we also talked a little bit about kid stuff, and then the constraints between movements that are bound and then moving towards things that are more free, thus the adult to child connection. And then we did a lot of sticky notes with a lot of different gestures, which was really fun. And so I had to come up with, I think we came up with like 50 gestures today.
Yeah.
Of like eye choreo and stock market gestures. Billionaire gestures was surprisingly fun. I really liked embodying that one as a irony thing. Mm-hmm. And then frustration, multitasking, there were so many.
Yeah. And we also took a little bit of time to play with this idea of a trash bag dress and playing dress up with whatever found materials that a kiddo might have around their house. And as like we kept going through it, it kind of morphed into like an unfinished blazer, which also oddly worked for this, to go from like a wrap dress into more of a blazer look.
Very oversized blazer. It was really fun to have a custom-made trash bag outfit by Jen. That was really fun.
Yes. Yeah. And so I guess we're now at this point of going into like the work in progress showing with like all these gestures. I think my favorite was probably playing Bop It with the credit card gesture. That just feels very millennial.
Yeah.
So being on the inside, embodying all these gestures and thinking about finger painting for grown-ups. We also talked about the original show as well. What are you thinking about with where this piece is and where it's going to go in the next few weeks?
Super curious about where it's going to go. I think it's really fun because a lot of the gestures are very pedestrian and upper body. So I'm curious if this stays just that or if it becomes a more full body experience and how that unfurls. I'm also excited to dance with another human and not just do it alone, and see what story unfurls in a very short turnaround time. And yeah, I think it's really interesting as a piece, and I like gestural work, so this was really fun.
Yeah. And I appreciate you naming how upper body it's focused. I mean, like it's gestures, and we obviously gesture mostly with our upper body, but I think about, like when we're younger, we do have these whole body gestures. And so maybe that's someplace also to play with this is like, what is it to take the stock market gestures and add in lower body movement to
Lower
them.
body kid and then
Yeah.
upper body. Oh my God. It'll be like
Yes.
a brain explosion, but in a good way. In a good
Yes.
way, yeah.
It'll be a lot of brain power. But yeah, cool. Anything else you want to capture or share out?
No, this was fun. I love generating movement, so this was really fun.
Cool. Yeah, cool. All right, thank you. Hey, listener, thank you so much for taking the time and energy to check out another episode of Any Other Anythings. Greatly appreciate your presence. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to find out more about this podcast, the speakers, and Graybox Collective. You can also go to grayboxcollective.com/podcast for a full transcript of this episode. Thank you again for listening. Thank you again for being here. Greatly appreciate it. Take care of yourselves and each other.